Character.AI claims First Amendment protection. The lawsuit against Character.AI highlights a legal battle over whether AI-generated content should be protected under the First Amendment. A mother has accused the platform of contributing to her son's suicide, prompting the company to file a motion to dismiss, arguing that its chatbot's responses are constitutionally protected speech. This case raises important legal and ethical questions about the liability of AI platforms, the extent to which AI-generated content should be considered speech, and whether free speech protections should apply when such content may cause harm. The essay will examine legal precedents, the implications of AI liability, and the broader debate over free speech versus public safety in AI regulation. Character.AI is currently facing legal scrutiny after the tragic suicide of a teenager who allegedly engaged extensively with its chatbot. The mother of the deceased has filed a lawsuit, claiming that the chatbot's responses played a role in her son's death. In response, Character.AI has moved to dismiss the case, arguing that its platform is protected by the First Amendment. This case has sparked public discussions about AI ethics, content moderation, and corporate responsibility, as courts must now determine whether AI-generated text should be treated like human speech and whether AI platforms can be held legally accountable for their outputs. Character.AI's legal defense is based on previous court rulings that recognize computer code as a form of speech under the First Amendment. In Bernstein v. U.S. Department of State, 1999, and Younger v. Daly, 2000, courts ruled that software code conveys information and ideas, granting it constitutional protection. Similarly, Universal City Studios v. Reemerds, 2000, acknowledged the expressive nature of code but allowed certain restrictions. Character.AI argues that its chatbot's outputs should receive the same protections as software, since they are algorithmically generated. However, courts must now decide whether AI-generated language, which mimics human communication but lacks human intent, falls under these same legal precedents. This case brings to the forefront a growing debate over whether AI-generated speech should be protected under the First Amendment or if companies should be held responsible for harmful content. Supporters of Character.AI's position argue that restricting chatbot-generated text would infringe upon digital free speech and could lead to excessive censorship of AI-driven platforms. Opponents argue that AI is fundamentally different from human expression, as it lacks intent and moral responsibility, and that platforms should be required to implement safeguards to prevent harm, particularly for minors. This debate raises fundamental questions about whether constitutional free speech protections extend to AI-generated text and how liability should be assigned when such content leads to real-world consequences. Beyond this individual case, the lawsuit against Character.AI has significant implications for AI regulation and the responsibilities of tech companies. In response to criticism, Character.AI has hired trust and safety staff and introduced new measures to protect minors from potential harm. However, if the court rules in favor of Character.AI, it could set a precedent shielding AI companies from liability for chatbot-generated content, potentially limiting future regulation of AI speech. Conversely, if the lawsuit moves forward, it may prompt stricter oversight of AI platforms, requiring them to take greater responsibility for the potential risks associated with their technology. This case will likely influence the legal framework for AI governance moving forward. The Character.AI lawsuit represents a pivotal moment in the legal treatment of AI-generated content, as it challenges the boundaries of free speech and corporate liability in the digital age. Courts must now determine whether chatbot-generated responses deserve the same First Amendment protections as traditional forms of speech or if AI platforms should be held accountable for the potential harm caused by their technology. The outcome of this case will shape future legal and regulatory approaches to AI, particularly regarding content moderation, and the responsibilities of AI-driven platforms. Ultimately, it underscores the need for a legal framework that balances free speech protections with ethical and safety considerations in AI development.